The most valuable people in tech right now aren't founders, they're engineers, and they're not VCs, they're operators. Casey Wu has interviewed over 1,200 of these people, which has scaled 6 hypergrowth companies and invested in some very big tech companies. And he's still saying AI is killing the specialist and creating a new kind of special forces generalist who will dominate the next decade. If you're building, scaling, or investing, this conversation would change how you look at talent. Hey, Casey, how are you today?
I'm good. What an intro. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Look, let's go straight into it. If I was to run a small business, why should I care about becoming a scaler instead of just hiring good specialists?
So the way I think about it is all things in life are spectrums. If you look at size of company, the spectrum from small to large. I was a public equity investor, investing in large companies, Walmart, et cetera. And now I'm on the VC side, which is small companies. The commonality is humans. Humans are across all businesses. And the way it works is the larger a company gets, the more specialized things become. So I kind of joke, IBM probably has 200 people who just do payroll. And then if you think about that, on the other side, you have small. So you have a 10-person company, there really is no specialist, right? Everything there is more generalist. And so the smaller you are, and also the faster you're moving, the more horizontal specialty, not vertical specialty, is what you need. Simply because one, you just don't have all the resources to hire, everything in every position. The other is when you're small, especially if you're growing fast, things are moving so fast that there really is no consistency or constant yet. And so it's adaptability, flexibility, curiosity, running toward problems type of persona rather than keeping the trains running, optimizing, squeezing another percent out of Amazon's, supply chain. And so for small business, you increasingly need to be more cross-functional, hire for more cross-functional, what I call special forces type business team members. And of course, with AI is kind of gobbling up specialists, right? The bookkeeper, the accountant. It's like starting with the more homogenous, specific type skills. And what is left is the people who manage cross-functionally across agents.
So you're absolutely right. As a small business, there's lots of generalists. There's someone that would do a bit of payroll, a little bit of HR, they'll do a bit of the marketing. And when these companies get larger and larger and larger, you then have teams and departments and things like that. Why do you think with AI and other aspects which are happening in business, why do you feel that generalist, I just want to delve a little bit more deeper into why you think that the generalists are going to have greater success, whatever size the business?
So it used to be, when you think about like the human society and the way we were built, you start as, what can you do for the village? Are you a blacksmith? Are you the doctor? Are you an engineer? Which makes sense. Humans also, the way we're wired, think in categories. You are helping with finance. I go to the finance department, et cetera. And so it's, as things get smaller, because when you think about what's happened is the monolithic type companies are giving way to fragmented smaller companies. Just look at Instagram. It used to be big marketing agencies are how you market. Then it moved to Facebook, became a little more, but Facebook itself is a monolith. And of course, now Instagram owns Facebook, but the point is now you have tools where individuals can market with very low cost and a very low hurdle. So that entire trend is happening across all industry, which is big is becoming fragmented to small. Solopreneur.
Yeah.
Look at Lovable, look at Replit. You can build your own tool in 2 hours. So what does that mean? The proliferation of small, the power of small, leverage in tools. So when you think about that, and you marry what I said before about generalism and small groups, the generalists are going to have a leg up. When one generalist can do 4 things because of 4 agents or because they know a little about everything, at
Yeah.
small, that is just in general faster, more nimble, and cheaper than for specialists, who may not have a full-time job. Actually, that's the other thing. So, and when you're small, a marketing effort might not be a full-time marketing effort. So there's a huge efficiency. And the last thing about generalists or scalar, in my opinion, is that they're self-autonomous. They're self-sufficient. So they actually kind of run themselves. So if you have 5 generalists, you can do 5 things at once, or 5 scalars. It's called barrels versus ammo, right? If you have 99 ammo and 1 barrel, you can only fire 1 thing at a time. If you have 2 barrels and 98 ammo, you can do 2. So they are leverage and force multipliers.
So do you see the future of business to be less reliant on these big companies, your Amazons and your Walmarts and your big companies? Do you see that the future of business is going to be based around small, nimble companies? Like, will the large companies fail?
No, I don't think the large companies are going to fail, but I think it could be, if anything, it's more of a barbell. I think the big companies are going to get bigger, like the Magnificent Seven, the NVIDIAs, the Metas, the Googles. And I think there will be a much greater proliferation and rise of what I call the singles and doubles, the solopreneurs, the smaller companies creating products to help people. It's a lot more fragmented. So I do think you're going to see a lot more winners in smaller size that fit more nuanced or textured markets and problems, simply because the cost of doing business has gotten a lot smaller. That also does mean potential disintermediation and extinction is higher. When you have an easier way to compete or to start a business, you also have more competition. And so both are true. But yes, I think you're going to see a lot more small to medium companies do well, be profitable, than in the past.
I read somewhere that I can't remember which of the big tech companies founders, CEOs said that we are moving fast into the pace where there will be the first billionaire solopreneur.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts about that?
Yes, I think directionally, more leverage, more generalists. That is a true statement. Now, when that happens, and is that more of a hyperbolic or metaphorical statement? I don't know. But absolutely, you see smaller and smaller teams starting with bigger and bigger revenue, profitability, and valuations.
So you interviewed 1,200 people. What was the basis of those interviews, and what did you find some of the highlights of doing such an endeavor?
So the reason why is I started innocently a 9-person group called the Operators Guild with a co-founder, and those 9 were CFOs, COOs, early stage founders. And what I realized, was that group was a much bigger group out there, and we were not the only ones. Because at the time it was, do you code or do you sell? If you were not in product or engineering or sales and marketing, you kind of weren't as deemed valuable or first-class citizen at a company. And then we started had nominations and then invitations, and people started to apply. And I interviewed nearly all of them. And that was 11 years ago that we started. So we have 1,200 members now, so I've definitely interviewed way more. But after speaking to so many people, and it was all word of mouth, so alike would refer alike, I started to realize that we were a breed of people that loved and were specializing in horizontal specialties, not vertical. And it was really hard for people to understand that. The biggest takeaway was that our titles were very misleading. CFO, COO, things like that, they're borrowed from corporate. And it works at corporate. But when you're a CFO or head of finance at an early stage company, you're actually 15% of my calendar as a CFO was doing finance. The rest was org, go to market, recruiting, office, janitorial. Like, it was not representative of my title. And that's what I realized, is that we are scalers and we can morph and move left and right. And that's a unique breed.
Are you tired of chasing clients and feeling like the only way to grow is to work harder and harder? Imagine instead having a steady stream of qualified clients coming to you because they know exactly who you are and why they need your help. That's what Christine Campbell Rapin is all about. Christine is the founder of Clear Acceleration Inc. and the creator of Turn on Your Waterfall movement. She works with entrepreneurs and business owners to cut through the noise, sharpen their messaging, and build simple systems that consistently attract clients without burnout and without gimmicks. If you want to discover how to stop chasing and start attracting, Christine has built resources and training designed exactly for you. Her work is trusted by business owners who are serious about creating consistent growth without the overwhelm. So here's what to do next. Go to the description below and click on the link and sign up. Take that first step today and start building consistent growth in your business with Christine Campbell. Yeah, that's fascinating. And we'll talk about the Operators Guild in a minute. I just want to just delve a little bit earlier in your career. What did you misunderstand by scaling and that whole idea of being able to scale a business?
Early in my career, what I misunderstood about scaling?
Yeah.
I mean, a personal lesson I learned was doing everything myself or not getting buy-in. So early on, I was kind of a bulldozer. I said, okay, we're going to upgrade the system. There's no question we need to upgrade the system. I know the system we have to upgrade to, and I would just do it. I would just let the rest of the exec team and the company know that's what I'm doing. And what you learn about scaling or any business is the importance of buy-in, working relationships, and that you're not in a silo. And scalers' jobs are to provide leverage. There's not a lot of us needed, but that's through systems, that's through processes, and data. So that was one big lesson, is giving more ownership, letting people fail a bit, iterating fast, not making perfect enemy of good, and buy-in, immediate working relationships, buy-in, and empowerment. That is real influence and way greater than even decision-making power.
Do you think as you were growing a business, you were scaling a business, that the decisions that you made were less frequent but higher importance?
I think as an organization grows and you delegate more and more, that is the reason why your decisions get more high level and bigger, and you're of a team that you've delegated to. You still make a lot of, smaller decisions, but no, I think what happens is over time you get more and more experienced, and the key is knowing what to care about versus not to care about. I kind of joke, it's like, I have 3 kids, by your third kid, what you worry about is very different than what you worried about in your first kid. In your first kid, every single little thing was a worry. By your third kid, he's a fever? How high? Okay, all good. You'll be fine. That's what it's like at your third startup or your fourth startup. You know what really matters. So yeah, in general, I think experience and scale will have you working on the 80 of the 80-20.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the Operators Guild. So how did you get your first 50, and how has it grown from those early stages into what it is into now?
Started with 9. We have 5 rules. It was, give more than you get, leave your ego at the door, so humility. What's said here stays here, so safe space. Active operators only, so irrelevance, and no solicitation or promotion. And those 5 core values, I think, really set the foundation for a very authentic, high caliber group. And because we had no sales and marketing, we still don't. That 9 was critical. That 9 had other friends who were the same, who were also lonely and seeking support and building companies at early stage. And so they nominated them. And the nomination process was taken very seriously, where everyone had to agree that no bad actor and do we let someone in. So that only got to 50 very slowly and unintentionally. We met always in person. This was pre-COVID, and and we became friends. You bond through hardship and common understanding. 50 to 250 was more of that, but we had different chapters start up. We had potential other operating groups that loved what we did and were already pre-selected. And then 250 to 1200 was just literally organically growing and deepening by location. So we have chapter leads at 20 different places. So it's very ground up. New York likes their happy hour. LA likes their breakfast. And so you start to build community chapter by chapter, and then collectively you grow globally.
And what are so for you, what for you has been the important aspects? You said the 5 core messages around each of the chapters, what it needs to do, but how have you been able to build that into such high quality people that are all coming together? How regularly do you meet? What's the sort of setup for it?
Well, this goes back to if you can pull it off and you're pure word of mouth, A people refer A people. So like I said, we don't have a sales team going out there cold calling. From there, you obviously have a lot of experience reviewing applications, actual experience, back channels, other referrals, triangulation. You get pretty good at who is high caliber, experienced. Good people generally is also associated with the original good people that are in the group. We meet, depends. If the bigger chapters are SF, New York, LA. So those bigger chapters have up to 20 to 25 person events a year. We have holiday parties. We have 2 summits, CFO summit and operators summit. And then we have virtual, that's global meetings. So those are probably 2 to 3 a month on all sorts of topics that are very relevant and top of mind. So there's a lot of places that we connect both virtually and in person.
Amazing. And what's the growth strategy that you've learned that you use on a regular basis, and when you're talking to people, and how you've grown businesses that wouldn't work for other people? What would you do differently that other people wouldn't do?
In terms of my OG, the community, or in terms of
your experience and your community? Yeah.
I think when you build community, which is a very unique type of model, I tell people, do not confuse financial capital with relational capital. And, taking money in and trying to force growth, I think can work, but it's different. I think community by definition, is a group of people with affiliation and bonds. And when you double click into that, there is depth and time. And I think time is a really big one to build true connections. When you try to do that at scale, or speed, I should say, it can be difficult. Not impossible, but I think if you take money and you try to treat a community as a software business, I think it can be counterproductive.
Yeah, I think you're right. And what's the aspirations for the community, where we are now and where you'd like it to be in a few years, 5, 10 years?
We continue to grow organically, slow and steady. High caliber is what matters. So I would say, quality over quantity. We very much focus on quality of engagement and quality of content, once again, rather than quantity. I think it's a very unique time for the Operators Guild in terms of where the world is headed, which is, the age of AI, if you think about it, is the age of the builder. It's the age of the horizontal generalist, where now you don't have to code. You have something that codes for you. What you need to know is business and business physics and how that works, which is literally what we do. So I think OG is going to be a place for both operators to finally say, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to start my own thing. All the number 2s and 3s, I'm going to start my own thing. And the other is becoming invaluable through leaning into AI, leaning into the best modern operating stack. Fog, the investing group, does that as well. So I think OG is going to be a very special place for people to stay on top of the latest and greatest, to have community, but also do very well in their jobs of the future.
Amazing. Well, let's just talk about Fog Ventures. So how did that start about, and what's the ethos behind Fog Ventures?
Yeah, FOG stands for Far Operators Guild. It is the investing group or affiliated group of OG. It's made up of all operators. So when you think about it, we specialize in B2B because we buy all the B2B products. We understand intimately the products themselves as we are the users, and we're the builders of early to mid stage. So FOG is an open syndicate. We screen applications for anyone that wants to invest, but also, it's accredited or above. And we look at tier 1 deals across all stage. So we're stage agnostic, specifically focusing on B2B. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. As the buyers, we have signal. We hear who's the best. We're hearing what we use, what we like. We can evaluate that quickly. So we have a lot of signal in terms of what's working, what's getting traction, what's not. And then from there, we invest in these companies. And as people who are building these companies, we have a unique perspective when it comes to evaluating the strength and quality of how a team is, how they're built. There's a lot of factors when we hear a pitch, look at information to evaluate what great versus good looks like, because we've seen so much. And we have a lot of fun in community angel investing and making money doing it. Fog came out of COVID, just coincidentally. And that was when finance and operating tools became important to revolutionize. Before that, it was all sales and engineering, Atlassian and Salesforce. And then it became people in HR, like Rippling. And then now we have CFO and COO type tools.
And for you, those ventures are they the fastest growing companies? Are they the most interesting, the most potential? What are the conditions that you have when you're making those assessments on those companies?
Probably not too dissimilar than, I think, top VC investors, which is number one, of course, is the team. At early stages, about the people. I found one is important is basically what they've done in the time they've done it in. So if you've been around for 6 months, what have you done in 6 months? How fast have you moved and iterated? So velocity. If you've been around for 2 years, that's a higher bar. What have you done in 2 years? Generally, that speed and velocity continues. And you kind of contract that a little bit. You don't actually know where they're going to go, but you can see the speed at which they go. And I think nowadays, velocity, iteration, changing, pivoting quickly is a real superpower. The third is obviously the problem set. Is it a problem that we really believe and understand? And then, of course, ask the customer. So a really, really big one is whether it's pre-customer prospects, we want to see them pitch to a prospect, or at least pitch to us as prospects. And from there, I think it's pretty simple. If we get excited, we think it's going to be solve a big problem, we want to take our credit cards out and buy it. That's a really good signal. So those are the combination. So it's traction, founding team, problem set, and success with prospects. And
that feedback loop that you get, especially pre revenue, is that based on, as you said, if you were willing to buy the product that they or service that they're providing, is that really where one of your sort of in the back of your head, like, what would we buy this? Is this something that actually solves my problem or our problem? I'm assuming that's super important for you when you're assessing these companies.
100%. Yep. Don't overthink it. If I don't understand what it's selling, or I'm not familiar with the problem, it's probably not something I feel confident investing in.
And how do you get companies coming to you? Are you looking for companies, or is there a sort of like an accelerator that they come through when they're looking to come into your ecosystem?
it's a combination of the community, all the buyers, all the operators. They'll send me interesting companies and deals that they come across, both as buyers, prospects, also investors. We have a lot of VC partnerships because we're a very strategic value add. We don't lead rounds, and so we support the exposure and the marketing and the product advisory for these companies. So VCs love to partner with us and bring us in when applicable. And then, because they know of us in general, companies that are building will reach out and say, hey, we're building something for your community. Want to take a look?
Brilliant. When founders say we're growing, but it's very messy, what does that usually mean for you when you're looking at a company?
I don't hear too messy too much. I think they're good at hiding that, or at least at first.
But starting a business is messy, isn't it? There's lots of moving parts. You're sort of like when you're looking at product development, when you're looking at sales, you're looking at marketing. It's a very messy picture. So, what is that a good sign, or is that something that sort of puts the red flags up?
There are two types of messy. There's systemic and idiosyncratic. It's I joke like, if you have a toddler, there's average toddler dysfunction, and then there's not average toddler dysfunction. Small companies are kind of like toddlers, right? They're like baby stage companies. So I think having been through so many startups, I think there's a feel for, okay, this is the normal dysfunction or messiness at this stage. They don't have this perfect, or they don't have that, which good. They shouldn't have that perfect. That's not important right now. And then there's more deep dysfunction, which is at this stage, not having a clear messaging or not having a clear data pipeline, is building debt that compounds. So I think it depends by stage, but we can tell pretty quickly, just given we've been at so many stages. And this goes back to traction. What have you done? At what stage and how long, to really determine that.
Do you find that founders are often the bottleneck when you're looking to scale a business? It's often very well talked about that sometimes they can be the bottlenecks to that real scaling and real success. Is that something you find, that when you're working with these companies, talking to these companies, understanding their businesses?
I mean, I think the founder is a very, very, very big part of any business, especially at early stage. So I guess it's fair to say that if there's large bottlenecks, the ownership's at the top. But yeah, I think the founder matters a lot, especially if you assume the founder has most of the control and direction. But also from there, it stems on the team, which of course you can associate with the founder. But yes, I think at early stage, founders make a very, very, very big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're thinking about companies that you're investing in and they're looking to scale fast, often it's talked about systems and processes that need to be put in place to be able to get that sort of leverage. From your experience of your own businesses and then investing as well, what's your thoughts of how to define that idea of systems and processes to gain scale?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, of course. When we talk about growing and scaling businesses, we're often told that you need to get systems and processes in place so that you can scale, that you can get that fast growth. From your experience, either from your personal experience of growing businesses or working with Fog Ventures, what for you, how is the way that you've defined building those systems and processes for those companies?
I think one way to think about it, or at least the way I think about it, is first of all, understand where you're headed, both in direction, scale, and speed, or magnitude and speed, and then see what breaks. So one test is just saying, okay, if we 50x'd everything, what breaks? Now that's obviously an extreme, but it will just tell you kind of where to focus. It could be an HR system. It could be inbound leads. So whatever that is, it could be customer onboarding. So you stress test the business by playing out scenarios. And I think that is a really great way to start saying, okay, what do I need to prioritize in terms of planning ahead, systems that take time to implement, before you need a scaled system to put it in when it's smaller, because it's a lot easier to put in a system when you're smaller than larger, right? The change out is better. So I think that's really how I prioritize.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've got the idea of failing fast and working it out as you go along. Nothing is a perfect system, especially at early stage. So would you subscribe to that idea of failing fast, break it, and then solve the problem fast?
In general, yes. I think if you're doing systems, generally you automate after you've done manual breaking, manual testing, and making sure it's something that should be automated. So I don't think automation should happen immediately. But yes, I think quick iteration is probably what I would do. You can call that breaking stuff, but it's staying fluid is a really big one. This world is changing just so fast that by definition, if you're trying to pour concrete on something, expect it to break, but build it with more flexible material and build it so that it might and will change in 6 months or 12 months. So I guess the other way of saying it is, if you're moving fast, do not spend a ton of time on getting it from 80 to 100, but you spend a really quick amount of time going from 0 to 80.
Yeah.
So 0 to 80 real fast, see what's going on. New system, 0 to 80 real fast, 0 to 80. You only move to 100 when things are getting pretty fixed and optimized. But even then, the world is moving so fast. Rarely is an innovative company good to go and set in its ways, like the government. For example, I guess you can do it that way. Yeah.
And what's your thoughts on AI and the future for operators, for generalists, for business owners? What are you seeing that maybe my audience should be aware of or be thinking about or tapping into?
I think there's never been a better time to start your own thing, especially in technology or product, because of the tools out there and the leverage that you can get from marketing at much lower cost and distribution. I do think there's some truth to, if you do not adopt AI, lean in and become invaluable. So at OG, there's, I think we're working on, which is, the invaluable series of content, right? Where if you think about it, what is AI doing? AI is at its minimum is a very highly productive efficiency tool for a human. And so in simple terms, if it took 10 people to do something, it's going to take less than 10. That means as an owner, you save a lot of money, which owners are driven by profitability. People are probably one of the number one costs. So you take those 10 people, and if you don't need 10 anymore and you need 7, 3 people got to go. Or not got to go, will go. Because as an owner, you do the same thing. So if you're an employee, think about it. Don't be the 3, be the 7. Be invaluable. So really, how do you become more and more productive for the company is a big one. As an owner, I think it could be a great thing, right? Whether it's marketing or finance or analytics or decision-making, you can do it with so much cheaper, so much more efficiently, and so much more profitably. The only issue with ownership, I think, is 2 types of businesses, right? Those that are wanted in the world and those are not. The tricky thing about AI is that it's disrupting businesses and what they provide so fast and in such an exponential way that the days, I think, of a business sitting there and being able to grow without a lot of innovation or hustle, I think are less. And to stay on top, to stay ahead of market share, to grow, to continue to increase pricing, the competition is a lot steeper. And creating a business that people want, that people buy, is harder because there's so much choice. So I think the general message is lean into AI, make it your friend, make yourself invaluable with it rather than shy away.
Is it a bubble?
The definition of bubble is interesting. Do I think there is a lot of fervor, frothy valuations that are ahead of metrics and fundamentals? Yes. Do I think in the near term there's volatility or there's adjustments? Yes. So if you call that a bubble, sure, yes. Do I think you pan out long term? We are at a bottom and it's going to get way higher in terms of valuations, fundamentals, growth of AI. Oh yeah, that is not a bubble. So it depends on time frame and if you're zooming in or not. This sounds like a really weird analogy, but in COVID, everyone bought toilet paper and toilet paper sales went out of control. And valuations got out of control because staples and consumers but what happened was people pulled forward what they're going to use. But in general, all those companies are still higher and bigger than they were before. But in the interim, it was a pull forward. Things got a little ahead of itself, then digested in. And I think that's kind of what that is. But the digestion will happen and we will make a new high and a new high and a new high when you pan out 5-10 years.
So my take on it is, I think there is a lot of money being put into AI when you're looking at Nvidia and all of the data centers, and they won't necessarily fail or anything like that. But it feels to me that there's a cycle that some of the investments that are being made are not all going to come out and be successful. So there could be a period of readjustment within AI, but as AI is evolving and growing and extending and showing the way that it can change industry, can change business, I think AI will continue to grow exponentially, but I think there is going to be a check or a checkpoint where people will suddenly go, actually, all these AI ventures and projects that we're doing at the moment, they're not all going to work out. And therefore, I think I'm echoing what you say. The short term is there could be some volatility, but as a technology, it could be absolutely game changing for humanity.
And that's what I meant by pull forward is the CapEx being spent will take time to be utilized, right? The capital expenditures is creating supply and chips and compute that is going to take time for people to fill in and use. So the timing of it may be longer than valuations have priced in, but I think eventually we're only getting started.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good assessment. How do you think you've evolved as a leader, Casey?
I think in general, I've realized there's way more possibilities. There's way more solutions than one initially thinks to any path that's approached. I've learned this through a lot of great founders and seeing startups cut their own way and survive, and the tenaciousness of companies. So I think as a leader, much more open-minded and flexible about ideas from everywhere and anyone. The other thing is, I think ownership is like, I really enjoy the growth of my team, the camaraderie, and just a little bit more mature. And I think thoughtful and less frenetic or rushed or impulsive than I used to be. I think that's probably also age. And then really focusing a lot more on relationships, experiences, and the journey. a little bit less so than the destination or some scale, and just to really try to appreciate the path we are on more so.
Yeah, so the journey is just as important as the destination. I love it. What would you say your risk appetite is, and has it changed?
I think risk appetite from all my eggs in one basket, early stage, that's less. Risk appetite for taking risks on new business ideas, ventures, investments, higher. So from a portfolio investing standpoint, more interested in different things and taking different diversified bets and have a much greater risk tolerance. But individually, I believe a little bit more in a diversified career. Whereas when younger, I was, go all in on one business and, just make that happen.
Yeah, amazing. And what's the plan for the next 2 to 5 years for you?
I want to continue to serve the scaler. So all the things I do focus on the scaler. The scaler is the horizontal generalist, the early stage CFO, COO, operator, strategist, entrepreneur. And there's never been a better time. And in doing so through, I think, 3 ways. One is OG, which is education and community. Investing, that's FOG. So servicing the best products and investing in those. And then the third is talent, Guild Talent. Guild Talent is the talent arm that helps build the teams and put great people into great jobs and great opportunities to build these innovative companies. And so for me, I think it's more of the same, but kind of moving a little bit more into embracing the new AI world and kind of intersecting and melding investing with products, with talent, and the love of building.
Amazing. Thank you. Look, we're coming to the end of the interview. I asked the same 6 questions to all my guests. So quick fire questions. They don't need a quick fire answer. So just answer them as normal. First question is, what's the best decision that you've made?
Having kids. Period. They're the best thing ever. They just bring me an incredible amount of joy. I've been very, very lucky. It gives me a lot of purpose. I think kids open up your heart in a way and show you a love that it's unlike any other thing. I think there's even grandparents loved, right? So that's a whole different one too, that I hope one day to have. But no, I just have so much joy in raising, taking care of, and loving on small humans and seeing what they can do.
How many do you have?
I have 3.
Amazing. Yeah. Girls or boys?
Girl. I'm sorry. Boy, girl. 975.
Nice. Next question. What's the best piece of advice you've been given?
Oof. A recent one I think I really like is make space. A lot of things are solved by pausing and taking a little space. That could be in a conversation, that could be after a question, that could be in a difficult time, is letting a little bit of space into things. I had the tendency to just shove everything and do everything. And if there was empty space on my calendar, I'd fill it. I kind of still do. But when you give things space to breathe or to go on a walk and breathe, you'd be surprised how much more clarity and better decision-making you make.
Yeah, I agree. Who's the person that's helped you most in your career?
I don't have one. I don't have one. I'm not going to make one up either. I have a bunch of people that have helped me out and friends, but I don't have any one particular. I've just learned a lot from everyone.
Did you ever have a coach or mentor?
No. I did. I always feel like I did something wrong there. I have a lot of, friends and people I ask advice to, but I don't think I think there's one there is the former CFO of Oracle and venture partner at Bessemer, Jeff Epstein, and another one's Alan Shim, former CFO of Slack. Those two have been what I would call mentors, and we would check in every once in a while, and I'm grateful to them. So if I would say, but most probably not, but those two have been amazing in times of need.
And would you say you're now positioning yourself as that coach or mentor for other people?
I wouldn't say
you feel comfortable with that label.
I'd say I've done enough. I've had enough scar tissue to be able to tell people a few things, including my kids. But yeah, I feel grateful when I can help. I do try when I can. But yeah, I do feel I want to pay it back. And I think I do it a lot through the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Now this is a tricky one. Tell me about a regret that you have.
Oh man. I think one that you hear a lot is, in my earlier career, I was, a little too focused on the hustle, and rather than slowing down, being more present, including the early days of my kids. So yeah, I think it goes back to just prioritizing, being in the moment, present relationships earlier in my career. Whereas, earlier career, you're like, oh, I got to make it, I got to do it. And now you realize that just continues, and it's a balance. It's a balance. You need both.
Regret, because where you were at that stage, growing businesses, scaling businesses, was that a wrong step for you then? Or is it now you're sort of like, maybe I should have enjoyed the journey more?
I think it may have caused me relationships that I could have deepened or could have gone differently because of that.
Yeah.
And that part I regret.
Yeah, fair enough. Was there a time that you wanted to give up, and what made you pull through?
Oh man, I think when I switched from Wall Street to startups,
right,
that was scary. You go from the pinnacle of finance, very lucrative pay, set industry, there's prestige, to, in those days, 2010, doing a startup in New York was kind of like a little confusing. And that was hard. Did I make the right decision? I took a huge pay cut. I loved doing it, but I hated it. I loved it. I loved it, hated it. It was a love-hate. That was really scary, if I made the right decision there. And then, 13 years later, I think I have. But there was a point in time where maybe the startup thing is not right. Maybe I should go back to, finance and investing in New York.
Do you think you could have gone back? Do you think you could have gone back and got another paid job in Wall Street?
Yes. But I've realized, and it's a book I'm trying to write, I do think for at least someone like me, my heart's got to be in it. There's a difference between competency and motivation.
Right. And
you need both, I think, to succeed. And I missed being with teams and people, and I'm a builder. And purely investing at a public equity stage is much more transactional, kind of research transaction. And that's great for some of my friends. They're doing fabulously well. It just wasn't for me. I was a bird trying to swim.
Right.
And so, yeah, I could have gone back and tried to swim. I was swimming okay. But long run, I don't think I'd be happy. And at elite levels that I want to be at, no, eventually I think, you'll get weeded out.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your honesty. Tell me something about you that most people don't know.
Ooh. Don't know. I'm pretty open. I think one is like, I'm a flaming extrovert. Like, I love talking to people out there, but I really, really enjoy one-on-one time. As much as I'm in groups and things like that, maybe that's an age thing, but I really like one-on-one time or just my kids or, something simple or quiet time. I don't like, I don't like when we go out, the table needs to be at a quiet spot. If it's too loud, I'm out, which is funny because I'm loud, I'm social. So I think that's kind of interesting.
So were you younger going to the parties that you needed to be going to or should be going to? Was that something that was part of your life younger?
I'm just a very social creature. And I say yes to all activities, all group things. It doesn't matter. My hobby is people. My hobby isn't hiking. If it's with people to hike, people to ski, I'll do it. So yeah, I'm just very drawn to people energy. But more so kind of one-on-one and small group.
Yeah. Thank you. And lastly, what does legacy mean to you?
Number one is my relationship with my kids, my partner. I think that's number one is honestly just as simple as a good father. I think that's a really, really big one for me. And the other I think sounds trite or the same, but is really making a difference in people's lives. I think that's why I chose to continue with Operators Guild. It has a very high surface area impact across many people, their jobs, their friendships they've made, making the hard, difficult profession of startups a little easier. And I think it's just feeling like you were a good-hearted person that helped, I think is legacy.
Is all you need. Brilliant. Look, thank you, Casey. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been really enjoyable hearing your ideas and your thoughts and how you're giving back to your community. And I think it's been great speaking to you. Look, if you found this valuable, please share it with another business owner who might find some inspiration from this idea of growth and scaling. And don't forget, please do like and subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you so much, Casey. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Have a great day.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.